So, Mr. Porteous, we're going to jump into our observation feedback. So, I came in and observed yesterday when you were UF. So, I'm going to start off by just naming all the successes that I noticed in your lesson, then we're going to take it from there. So, I'll let you start. What were some of the successes that you noticed in your lesson yesterday?
I read from the lesson plan.
Yep.
I went strictly from it.
What else?
The scholars seemed like they was engaged in what I was reading about when I told them that we was focusing on new ideas for the Golden Gate Bridge. It seemed like they kind of understood. They was piecing together what they did yesterday. I mean the prior day to the current day. In terms of like the notes that they had and just understanding more about what important notes are.
Yep.
I think even though the computer wasn't working, it worked well with
yes.
The board.
Improvise. You didn't let it stop the show.
And they were pretty focused after. They knew exactly what they needed to do in terms of discussing new ideas and jotting down ideas and looking through the paper as we did it together.
I had some of the same glows and some more to build on. So I noted that, lesson plan was in hand. You're using precise language that was scripted out. You had the activator, you had the scholars write one fact. Remembered from yesterday's lessons on the Golden Gate Bridge, so they wrote that on their desktop so that you could easily gauge what they were seeing. Scholars were seated at their desks. You used countdown while scholars were taking out their articles, so just kind of that make sure the pacing was going. You narrated the actions that you saw scholars that were doing, and you wanted them to replicate. After reading the source text, you had scholars go back and reference to graphical organizers, just making sure that they're using the tools and the scholars get to see, it wasn't just isolated in today's lesson. What I did yesterday is going to continue to build on, which is super important. You had turn and talks, you set timers, you're holding scholars accountable for active listening. So when you called on Miles, you didn't have Miles share out his answer. You had him share out his friends. His friend didn't have an answer, which is unfortunate. We'll talk about, that's kind of where I want to see, we'll talk about that later, but I see an opportunity there. But then Miles was able to share as well. You celebrated scholars that were meeting and exceeding expectations, and you modeled for scholars how to write down their jots using the bullets. So I could tell you that you were going into like the note-taking skills. So how did that feel?
It felt good because it like gives them their own like type of creativity in terms of like writing down their notes. Because I know like you got those, even when you like on Microsoft Word, sometimes you want to get fancy and use like the triangle or the dash. So like you can use either one. Just know that you just jot down these notes.
Exactly.
And
you emphasize like you're like taking that bigger idea and then chopping it up into like something bite sized. You're not writing the whole sentence like what is the gist or what is the jot that you wanted them to take away. So one thing I did notice, so there's 2 quick hits, and then there's 2 areas of focus that I want to focus on. So one is a quick hit is that scholars should have, well, we're working on them, but they should all have like the labeled writing folders to hold all papers and graphic organizers, because I did notice when you told them to take it out, you gave them a countdown, but they were kind of still fumbling around. But if they had all of those folders, it'd just be super easy. And even having whoever is teaching before you, have you set up for success and having those folders already out so they can just be like a quick, take that out. And I know we had mentioned that we need to reorder those, so I'll follow up on those as well. And then just making sure, like when you're teaching and giving direct instruction, that it's completely silent.
Okay.
So there were some small murmurs while the teacher, where you setting the stage of the lessons. Just stop and scan for 100%. It's like stop yourself, do like a little pregnant pause, and then stop and literally look and scan, and then pick right up.
Okay.
And that's just super today's for tomorrow. You could probably implement that this afternoon.
Yeah.
And then one area of focus that I wanted to kind of work on in our meeting this now is just the CFU. So before moving on, have a scholar explain in their own words what steps you took to list out the new piece of information. And so you were giving it to them. And I think it would just kind of short up. And even though they did get the lesson, there might have been that handful of scholars that are just like nodding their head yes, but like they truly don't know what.
At the end?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So before you release them to do their independent practice. And then also thinking about when they do their turn and talk. So this is something that we're going to work on. This is something that we definitely push in 4th and 3rd grade, but it starts in 2nd grade.
Yeah.
Is when they do the turn and talks, thinking about the cycle of think, write, share. So giving scholars like 20 seconds just to think about what it is they're going to say, and then before they say it, to hold them accountable, have them write it on their desk. So I'm giving you 30 seconds to think. Okay, scholars, pick up your pick up your marker. When I say go, you'll have 1 minute to write down your thought. Give them that 1 minute, and then give them that other 30 seconds to share. And that way, they can truly hold the teachers, each other accountable. And then when you're circulating, you can clearly see like, oh, every scholar has an independent idea, and I'm not just going off of what my person said, my partner said. So that's something small, but we could work on that together. And that's kind of what I wanted to like kind of script out. So is there a time in your lesson today that you have implemented or you foresee turn and talk, and then we can just kind of script that into your lesson today, and then we can go back and checkpoint and see how that looks.
All right, so let me pull it up. I'm pretty sure we're in the beginning. Kind of like this is 2, we're on 4. When you was telling me before to just like have them do like a small synopsis of what they did yesterday.
Yep, like the activator.
Could that be where we choose?
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah.
So during the activator, so.
And what's their question?
Complete plan. 2 minutes. All right. So the question would be, why is the Golden Gate? Why is the Golden Gate Bridge a famous bridge? Why is it famous? So they could do the think, write, share for that. I'll give them 20 seconds to think. Well, 20 seconds is good enough?
Yeah, so like the whole turn and talk should probably exceed a minute, a minute and a half, just because scholars get off task. Like 30 seconds to think, maybe a minute to write, and then 30 seconds to share. So you could do like a 90-second timer or put it like in 30-second intervals.
Okay.
And it's okay if they're like, I didn't finish. It's okay. You've got the gist and you've got something down just so that you're giving, it's really just truly making sure that scholars have that time to really think about what they want to share.
All right, got it. So they're going to do the, and that's like a sum up, and they have more than enough information from the previous 2 days.
Okay.
To, be able to have something down that's sufficient.
And then once you're finished writing it out, we're like actually practicing. I'll be the scholar, and we'll act as if this is like the activator, and I'll do everything that you're asking me to do. I've got my marker ready to go.
You gonna write it on your table?
Yeah, it's right on my table.
Good evening, scholars.
Good evening, Mr. Porteous.
Okay, so before we start our amazing lesson today, we're gonna do something new. It's called the Think, Write, Share. It's called the what?
Think, Write, Share.
Okay, so we're gonna have 90 seconds. How many seconds?
90 seconds.
30 seconds we're gonna think. 30 seconds we're gonna
think.
30 seconds we're gonna write. 30 seconds we're gonna
write.
And 30 seconds we're going to share. We're going to
share.
You're gonna share with your shoulder buddy. And this is going to be our sequence of how we're going to do a turn and talk from now on. Got it?
Got it.
So the question that we're going to have, who's
Freeze.
ready for question? Oh.
So one thing, I'm going to stop you at the point. So this is something that new that you're introducing. So I would love to see you model it for scholars first.
Okay.
And then exactly what you're doing. So before you have me do it, to say, I'm going to model for you what this should look and sound like. And then if they have questions, and this is just so that they are very clear of the expectations going forward. You won't always have to do a model of this, but since this is something new that we're introducing, and make it sticky for kids. But I love the call and response and just making them sure that they're hearing the words that you're saying to do.
Okay. So I'm going to model for you guys first.
Okay.
So the question is, why is the Golden Gate Bridge a famous bridge? First, I'm going to take my 30 seconds to think about it.
Freeze. And so right now, I want you to model your thinking. So So whatever it is that you're thinking in your head about, just say, Scott, I'm just going to model for you what I'm thinking since you can't hear my thoughts. You're going to do this silently in your head, though.
Okay.
All right.
So I'm thinking, what did I learn in the past 2 days about the Golden Gate Bridge? I remember Mr. Porteous and the scholars, we found out that the bridge was orange so that others can see it at night or during the fog.
Awesome.
Now I'm going to write down my thought. The bridge was orange so it can be seen. Now I'm going to share. After I'm done writing down my thought, I'm going to track to see if my shoulder buddy is ready to share, because they might still be writing.
Mm-hmm.
And even though you may finish before them, just give them an opportunity to catch up.
I love it.
And we're going to share. So I will let my shoulder buddy go first as a courtesy.
Stop right there.
Oh, and
No, that's great. And then from there, that's when you can, like, of course, split the few scholars to share out to the whole group. But this holds everyone accountable for doing the work that you're asking them to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's simple because they're writing it, but then again, this is another way that you can kind of check for your understandings. If you notice that scholars are super off topic, you might have to adjust the lesson in this moment. Just like, okay, maybe we need to take a step back to like a whole group recap. But like I said, that was awesome, and I love that you actually took the time to write, and then even one step further to kind of mirror in and push for that reading. Have the scholars read or dictate as you're reading. So as you're writing, like in Message Time Plus, so they could be the bridge, and that just gives them an active listening job to do.
All right.
And you can say, like, as I'm writing along, and just like we do in Morning Message, you can read along with me.
That's going to help me remember. I put the double M's.
Yes. So how did that practice feel?
It felt pretty good.
Something like tangible that you can kind of replicate?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I have it right here, so and then it's on the lesson 4, so I'm gonna just go straight into it.
And then
find out the pieces to it.
I will probably, and so like the next part is that I'm going to talk about the follow-up. So I could pop in this afternoon to your last rotation so that you've had a couple of at-bats at it. And when I come in this afternoon, I'm only going to come in at the top of the lesson just to look for this one little piece, and just so that we can just stamp it that you're ready to go, and then we can move on to something else that we're working on.
All right, no problem. Sounds
Awesome.
good.
Yay! You got your plan in here, you got your edits, and
okay.
I will clean up my notes and I will send these to you as well, just so that you can have a hard copy of them as well.
Do you have it on the computer real quick so
Yep.
I can just make sure these papers are in the right order?
Yes. You want me to print them out again?
No, because I mean I got it right here, but I just need I know that that's the front of it, but I got it mixed in with my.
Ooh,
I
yes.
got all the lessons right here.
Yep.
Like, I got 5. And
I'll pull it up. Any other questions about what we're doing? So what is your action step? What is the focus that we talked about today while I pull it up for you?
The action step is to just keep everyone engaged through the think, write, share model.
Yep.
And pushing them to like everyone being accountable, so that there won't be no more like mild situations.
Exactly. And then like of course like you can have them right on their desks. You could switch it up with a variety, give them a sticky note, and then they could come and post it up on the board like we talked about when they're doing the Venn diagram. So there's a couple of variations to it, but I would definitely stick with the marker and whiteboard for right now.
He definitely told the truth, and I ain't
Well,
wanted to.
no, and that's fine. Like things happen, like and that was like a perfect case in point. I was like, ooh, perfect idea what we can do to move this forward. All right, well I'm going to bring up the lesson plan, and then I will come and check you out this afternoon.
Thank you.
Awesome.